Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Uli. If this is your first time, then welcome, and if it's not, then welcome back. So today's video is going to be something that's quite niche. It's something that when I was going through it, I used to search on YouTube all the time, and I could never find any specific videos on this topic. So I'm going to make a video on it. And it's basically how I cured my lip eczema. And I had lip eczema for a really long time. I'd say it was about 15 years. When I sort of had my sort of second big comeback of eczema when I was around 12, 13. This is the first place that it came out after using sort of a weird lip balm or weird lip salve, turned into a rash, then turned into sort of very chronic, stubborn eczema in this area. And it's a really embarrassing, extremely painful, it's a very, very uncomfortable area to have eczema, and it's also extremely hard to heal because it is always being touched, it's always being stimulated, it's always having sort of contact with like different foods, or like if you're eating or chewing or talking. So I wanted to make this video if anyone else there is suffering through the same thing, because I kind of got to a point where I thought that I would never have normal lips, and I would always have to use steroids, and I'd always have to use some kind of lip balms and that kind of thing. But I can very, very happily and with great enthusiasm, tell you that you absolutely can heal it. So just to start off, I'll show you what my lips used to look like when I sort of had really bad lip eczema. So I'll put in some photos here. As you can see, it was pretty bad. It was particularly bad, especially in like the corners of my lips, and these bits would always crack and they'd always split, and it was always extremely painful. They'd also be very itchy sort of around the top and the bottom. But yeah, but now that it has healed, it's amazing. It's been very, very resistant. Even in the cold, it gets a teeny bit dry. Like now it's like a little bit dry, but it's really like, it's so fantastic to feel like it's just completely healed. It's very strong towards any kind of contact allergies that I used to have. It really doesn't have any of that anymore, and I'm just really excited basically to tell you exactly how I did it and what worked for me, and hopefully somebody out there will possibly gain a little bit of inspiration and a little bit of motivation from this video. So basically, healing your lip eczema is a process. It's not just something you do for a week and then it's gone. It sort of goes in phases, as I think all kind of healing your eczema naturally, all of it will go in phases, but this one has its own sort of phase and its own sort of little mini journey. The first of all, like I've said in all my videos, if you want to heal your eczema sort of from the inside out, you have to address the internal state of your body. So to do this, you have to look at everything. You have to look at your diet, you have to look at your general lifestyle, your stress levels, how much sleep you're getting. There's a lot of different things you need to look at. So I have lots of different videos for all these different topics, but mainly what you need to do is look into going onto a plant-based vegan diet is what I did. Nothing processed, nothing too sugary, nothing too salty, anything like this. But to go back to the lips specifically, the first part of this sort of healing process is that you want to start to let the skin and the lips sort of build its own natural skin barrier again. So if anyone out there was like me, I was incredibly addicted to lip balms and moisturizers and different creams, even though there was never one thing specifically that helped. And I often used to find that if I continued to use one type of lip balm, then it would become irritated, my lips would become allergic to it, and I'd have to switch the lip balm. After a while, your skin basically becomes very dependent on these moisturizers, and they basically create almost like a fake skin barrier and a fake sort of layer of hydration that actually what your body should be doing is producing that on its own. So in order to do this, you have to, first of all, completely go cold turkey. Stop using anything. Like, do not put any creams, any moisturizers, absolutely nothing on your lips, and you will find your lips become so dry and so uncomfortable. Like mine started like cracking and bleeding, and I'd wake up in the morning and I'd feel like they were going to shrivel and fall off. Like I couldn't talk, I could barely eat. It was just literally like a scene from a horror movie. So while you're doing this, just be strong, be patient, and be really sort of almost stubborn to the point where you like will not put anything on them. So this very initial phase, which is probably the hardest, it's very difficult to speak, it's very difficult to eat, it's extremely unsightly. So be prepared for people asking you if you need lip balm and telling you that you need lip balm. Just be strong, they're coming from a good place, so don't worry about them, and just, you know, keep your chin up and don't let it get you down too much. So while you're going through this phase as well, you have to be very, very careful with what you're eating. Firstly, drink lots and lots of water. You need the hydration because your skin is very dry. But you have to be very, very careful with the kind of the contact that it gets with sort of food substances. And for me, this meant completely cutting out all citrus fruits, anything that was too salty, because, you know, imagine putting, you know, salt in a wound, extremely painful. Anything that was spicy, anything that made you, if you were like me, I had certain foods that did make me itch. Even natural foods like avocado made me itch, and certain skins of certain fruits made me itch as well. So avoid all of those things. Eat very, very plain foods, because just for the first few days anyway, while you don't want any contact with anything. Preferably cooked, because again, it's just less strong, I find, less reactive. So as an example, the kind of things that I would eat sort of mashed up sweet potato with some chickpeas and maybe some steamed greens, and that would be a meal. And maybe for breakfast, I might have a banana with some oats and a little bit of almond milk. I wouldn't even have cinnamon on that, because I felt like some cinnamon can also be a little bit strong. Just very, very, very plain food. If you have something that when you eat it, it does make you feel a bit itchy or a bit tingly, immediately go and sort of rinse it off with some cold water, pat it dry, and just wait and just leave it alone, and the itchiness will go. But just really, really try and make a note of those things and try to avoid them. I also want to go back to the flakiness and the dryness. I used to have a terrible, terrible habit of, I think it was, again, since my lip eczema started, so a habit of 15 years, I would pick off all the dead skin flakes, which is really bad. But it became like a compulsive thing. I couldn't not do it. At this point, your skin is going to be really flaky. So if you have that habit, really, really, really try and fight it. And if you can't fight it, what I used to do is I used to get like a very clean little toothbrush, and I would just sort of really gently kind of just sort of brush away any of the dead skin flakes that I had. So once this sort of initial part is over, for me it took about 5 days, maybe a week. Your lips should start to feel like they're at least a little bit easier to move around and not so dry from the inside. They are still probably going to be dry on the outside. Mine were dry on the outside for a really long time, maybe even a couple of weeks at least, if not even a few months. But just stick with it and keep doing your other sort of eczema healing stuff. So keep sticking healthy, keep drinking lots of water, and just whatever you do not start using moisturizers or lip balms again. This is going to be completely counterproductive. It's going to take you back to square one at this stage. Now, the only exception to the moisturizer rule is this. It is castor oil. Now, castor oil, when you put it on, for me, it doesn't feel necessarily, it feels nice when you put it on, but then I find after a while, when it kind of soaks in and rubs off, it almost makes it feels like you need a little bit more. And that can kind of sort of bring you back to sort of the picking and the rubbing and the sort of the touching. So, but it is really, really good. And the reason it's that is just because it is a completely pure natural oil. It doesn't have any of the sort of the addictive qualities that lip balm has. It doesn't replace any kind of natural skin barrier. So your skin barrier is still dry and it's still damaged underneath. So when this kind of sort of starts to rub off, you'll still feel like it's quite like dry and it needs something else on it underneath. So what I would do instead, I would put this on once a day, maybe twice a day, but once a day just before I was going to bed, and I'd literally just put it on the center of my lips here, just as like not all the way around. And I found that was just, it did actually make it feel quite a lot better in the mornings. And it got better and better the more I kind of used it. But like I said, max twice a day, once a day, and sometimes not at all. So this was very, very, very minimal, but it was every now and again, it did feel quite nice. So castor oil is quite good. Another huge factor in the sort of the state of my lips was the weather. When it was very cold, my lips became drier and were drier for a lot longer. So just kind of be prepared for that if you live in a cold climate or if you're in the winter at the moment. But just be prepared for that and don't let that change very much of the other stuff I said. Like maybe you might need like a tiny bit more castor oil here and there. But again, if you find that feeling where you feel like you need more of it once you put it on, then I would say just try and let your lips do its own thing. And then once it gets warmer again, I found that my lips started to improve more and more and more. So I would say at this point it was maybe 6 or even 7 months later. So again, it's a long process. But after sort of the 6-7 month mark, my lips healed almost completely. They might have been a little bit dry, a little bit here and there, but honestly, pretty much completely healed. And since then, they've been absolutely fine. Even when the rest of my body wasn't healed at all, my lips healed quite quickly, and since then they've been really, really good. So now that my lips are completely healed and I didn't use anything on them for several months in the summer, now that it came to winter, the only thing that I use now is a little bit of Vaseline. And this is literally just a bit of protection. It's quite funny that I use this because this used to be something that would make my lips really, really bad when I had really bad eczema as a teenager. But I don't know, like this is very neutral now. It doesn't, all it is just kind of protects it a little bit here and there. And again, it's not something that I put on all the time. And it is something that if I ever feel like my lips feel dry from the inside, which has happened every now and again after I've been ill or something, then I don't use it at all. I just drink lots of water and I let the skin barrier rebuild itself again. And then maybe I'll put that on if I need it, just as a bit of protection. I hope this was helpful to somebody out there who has the same niche problem that I had, and my heart really goes out to you because I know exactly how embarrassing and how painful and uncomfortable it can be, and I really, really hope that these tips have helped. If you have any questions or you want to know anything else about anything I've talked about here, or if there's anything that wasn't clear, please do leave a comment and please subscribe. And I'll see you again very soon for another video. Mwah!